Welcome back to the PI show. Before the break, I was talking with Tony Carbone, personal injury lawyer, and Katrina Green, a rehabilitation specialist. And we're just talking about people who are injured and getting back to work, and your role is assessing their situation. And before the break, we're talking about a 50-year-old female personal care attendant.
That's right.
And all the things you've got to consider, which is a lot. And you know, it's presenting symptoms, medication, physical tolerances. You've got to do the education and vocational history.
That's correct, yes.
But Katrine, can I, sorry to butt in, Harry. I've always given a lot of weight to medication. She's on some pretty heavy medication, this lady.
This client was actually prescribed morphine for pain relief, and in fact she developed a dependency on morphine, which
and Endep is also pretty
Endep's an antidepressant, and yes, they have impacts on
functioning,
function, and work capacity.
So look, over the years I've always given a lot of weight to the medication a person takes. I think it's pretty significant in trying to determine what they can and can't do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Sorry about that.
But it's part of the total picture. So you've got to get a history, the education and vocational history. And what's the relevance of that?
That's correct. Well, I have to have a look at their transferable skills, and the only real method in being able to do that is to obtain an employment history, and also whether they've had any vocational training and what their qualifications are. And of course I have to take into consideration each individual's literacy while I'm determining what they may be able to do. Now in this client's case, she'd been a personal carer for 5 years. She'd actually been home managing and in a parenting role for quite some time, and as a more mature person she'd returned to vocational training, and that was personal care attendant, and prior to that she'd worked in the retail industry. So for her age, her transferable skills were actually quite limited, and in the process I have to determine what occupations I think that person could actually undertake. Now, whether they can do that because of their injury is a separate issue, and I have to address that in my report. For example, this lady, her skills would allow her to work in areas such as personal care attendant, retail sales. She has a driver's licence, so in actual fact she could work as a courier, and she's worked at home undertaking domestic duties, so she could actually transfer those skills to the workplace as a domestic cleaner or a room attendant. Now, because of her injuries, in fact, reviewing the information that I gained at the interview and also referring to the doctor's reports, I actually came to the conclusion that this particular client was unable to return to work because her physical capacity did not meet the physical demands of the occupations for which she was suited.
Okay. So you have to arrive ultimately at a conclusion about people's work capacity, and I suppose you've got to take into account all those factors of medication, the injury, the
That's
medication.
Correct.
And the age of the person is pretty important, you would think.
And all the, if you like, the barriers to work.
That's right.
So you found in this case she was computer illiterate. She's not Robinson Crusoe. So
No.
there are other people
That's right.
at this table who are computer illiterate, Tony.
I don't know. I've got great skills, Harry.
But also, though, I mean, this client with her back injury, her sitting tolerance was very low, 15 minutes. So it would be, in fact, very difficult for her to do a sedentary role because she hasn't worked in an office before, which means that she would have to go into an entry-level position, which doesn't give a lot of flexibility in working around other duties. You really just have one or two dedicated clerical jobs and you have to sit and do them.
Someone with a back injury, it's a paradox to get them to sit down, because I think when I had a sore back a while ago, sitting was the hardest thing. I couldn't do it.
No.
Standing was
moving
easy.
around. People recommend moving
Yeah,
around.
standing was a lot easier than actually sitting.
Well, each individual's very different in that respect, but it is a fact that a lot of people can't walk and stand for a long period, or they can't sit for a long
Harry,
period.
because of time, I think we should move on to motor vehicle accidents.
Yeah, the motor
'cause
vehicle
I'd
accident
like to
is-
do more work accidents, but you know,
And
be conscious of time.
look, Tony, the law with work injuries is that after 2 years, or now it's 2.5
2.5
years,
years.
is that the government expects people to get back to work. And this situation, she might have been cut off from weekly payments.
Yeah, well, you've
based
got to
on
have-
a medical opinion.
Well, you've got to
say
have
she
no
can do-
capacity as such. Albeit there's another area that's very important that people should be aware of. If you can't do a full-time job, but you can get more, work doing more than 15 hours, you can apply for the difference in your payments at 80%,
Yeah.
which is pretty significant, I think, these days. Yeah, motor vehicle accidents, Harry, I think.
But motor vehicle accidents again. Someone like a forklift, 45-year-old male forklift driver suffered pretty significant injuries,
A lot of injuries.
and really, again, couldn't get back to work because of the nature of the injuries. And
I think one of the significant factors of this particular case is that this man had actually worked for the one organisation for 25 years, and he'd done that particular job for 25 years. He was also computer illiterate, and his literacy skills were very limited.
so the prospects of, in effect, retraining or getting back into alternate duties. He couldn't go back to what he was doing.
No, he couldn't, no.
And he then perhaps had to look for alternate duties, but they were limited with all those barriers of computer literacy. Often there's language skills people don't have, all the language skills.
No, well, that's right. But look, Katrine, this is one where you've got right foot, leg, knee and right shoulder.
That's correct.
Plus scarring.
But the thing is, he's not taking medication, so
No,
it
no.
raises interesting questions about how severe these injuries are.
Well,
I'd
I
imagine they were.
think that he was very much a very physical person. He had a lot of physical recreational interests, and he was really quite a stoic individual, and he just preferred to be able to try and cope with the pain without medication. Now, that doesn't mean to say that his injuries weren't severe, and pain is a perceived thing, and he still reported quite a lot of pain, but he wanted to deal with that pain without medication.
Harry, Katrine, it's that time of the show again. Time flies, and look, I just want to thank you for coming back on the show,
That's
Katrine.
my
We might have to get
pleasure.
you back on another occasion because
You've raised a lot of interesting issues. I think it's a very important area, and I think the courts and lawyers rely heavily on someone like yourself to give us some guidance.
thanks for coming back on the show. And we've got to go to a sponsors break, so I want the viewers to keep watching. Don't go away. We'll be back very, very shortly. Thank you.